Welcome back for another edition of Law 251. I can now say a Nappie Nominated podcast. And in to celebrate this great occasion with me, also talk about some other stuff as well, of course, Bryan Comer with Tobias Comer Law. Bryan, thanks for coming in again today.
Thanks for having me, Dalton.
So we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about National Boating Safety Week, which is coming up later this month, and something very cool that you and the rest of the Tobias and Comer team did with ALEA Marine Patrol. We'll get into that, but I do want to, I'll go ahead and applaud you right now. Some great stuff you guys are nominated for in this year's Nappies, which people can begin voting for this week. Congratulations to Tobias and Comer Law. You guys are nominated for the Best Personal Injury Firm, also the Best Place to Work. And then you, Bryan. I mean, I don't want to make you blush or anything right here, but you're nominated for Best Personal Injury Attorney and Best Mobilian. How about that? Best Mobilian. I don't think there's a better category.
It's very humbling. I appreciate it, and I think that if anything, it is a testament to the work that we're doing and the impact that we're trying to have, for the greater good.
Yeah, and a lot of that work showing. Also, another category you're nominated in is Best Lanyap Cover Story, of course, discussing your trial from just a month or so ago. Fantastic story. I recommend article, I should say. Everyone go back and read that. And then this little thing we're doing right here, Law 251, our podcast, also up for Best Podcast. So I encourage folks to go out and go to votenappies.com and vote for Bryan and the team and all of those other categories. But here we are. Weather's getting warm, and later this month, National Boating Safety Week. Bryan, you guys were telling me you got together with ALEA Marine Patrol, the Marine Division, and have done something really cool here recently to point out how to stay safe out there on the water.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've talked about this a lot before, and you've talked with Desi just about being on the water and what all applies, but we thought it'd be a good idea to say, okay, hear it from the experts themselves, straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And ALEA was great. They brought 4 different people. We had troopers, we had a corporal there, and to discuss, what are the rules of the water, so to speak, that are applicable. And so on National Boating Week, May 20 to 26, we're going to be releasing videos, and it covers everything from life jackets to, what do you do if you're a novice boater, several things that I actually witnessed a guy get pulled over on a paddle board, which was interesting. But, the rules apply to them too. And just it's good information for folks who, need more information, and they can check that out on our website, tobiascomerlaw.com.
So y'all will be rolling those videos out during National Boating Safety Week again later this month. May 20th is when that week begins. Yeah, actually here recently was at the Outdoor Expo in North Baldwin, and they had ALEA's Marine Division there, and they gave a little presentation on the PFDs. They brought every single different kind out, and it's so important. Of course, by law, you have to have them on the boat at the very least. And for kids 8 and under, they have to have them on it all the whole time. But it was funny because these ALEA officers were talking to some people they had pulled over in boats before who were out there at the expo. They're like, hey, I remember you. Yeah. Did you ever get that? Did you get the numbers on your boat fixed so we can read them clearly? But they do a great job of it. I'm glad that you guys were able to link up with them because they tell you what they're looking for. They tell you what you have to do to stay legal, but it's also in their best interest to keep any dangerous situations from arising because they're the ones who end up heading first head on into those dangerous situations to many times try to save some lives.
Yeah, in fact, just the night before, they had responded to a boat fire near the causeway, and we're dealing with that. But, I mean, that's the big thing. You want to, okay, well, what can I do to be legal? What can I do to make sure I'm complying with the law? But the whole thing here is for safety, and particularly on personal flotation devices. And that's true whether you're in a kayak or on a paddleboard or whether you're in a boat. Kids, the whole point is if you get pitched overboard, whether it's something you did or something somebody else did, that people don't drown. And it doesn't take but just an instant, and bad things can happen. And so that's what it's there for. And they're just trying to keep us all safe. And it's always a good reminder, too. I had to go through a kind of mental checklist. Okay, is my boat up to speed, And so we really appreciate them coming out.
And that's another big one, too. You mentioned it there. And there was a story here recently where a couple kayakers were charged with boating under the influence. So it's not just on those boats with engines, but you can't be operating any of these crafts while under the influence, whether you're paddling yourself or however you're getting around on the water. That can happen, and it does happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and again, it's not just you, but it's other people too. I mean, if somebody tips over in a kayak, they could drown, obviously. But, if you're drunk and out on the water and, you're going to impact other people and then become a dangerous condition for them too. And so it's just always good to remember, what the rules are and to make sure you follow them and be safe.
Well, you do have that, and what I discussed with Desi, that checklist for making sure your boat is ready and you're ready for boating season. You'll be rolling these videos out later this month at tobiascomerlaw.com, and you have all that other great information there. But, Brian, not everyone is a boater. Not everyone is going to be out on the water, as much as I hate to say it, at all this year. There are some other summer safety tips you probably need to take into account as we head into that season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, one of the things that always reminds me of the season coming up with summer is just anytime I'm leaving work and I see 10 East going into the tunnel. And then, you say, oh, okay, yeah, people are going to the beach now and all that. But, yeah, I mean, we've got some good tips on there, just things, again, to be mindful of. That traffic is going to be heavier, and so take your time. Make sure that you've planned your trip accordingly. Make sure that your car's in good shape. You want to make sure that that you're going to arrive safely where it is you're going, and again, don't impact other people.
And, I almost don't even want to bring this one up. It doesn't have anything to do with traveling, although if this happens to your house, you'll probably find a reason to travel. But termites, that season's coming, swarming season. They destroyed one of the walls in one of my previous homes, and it's an absolute nightmare. But even more of a nightmare if you're dealing with issues with termite bonds and you're having trouble getting through to your company or whatever. And Lord knows there have been a lot of folks around here who have dealt with that exact situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And now is a perfect time to bring this up before that swarm season comes. That seems to be when it's always in people's faces because, you got to turn off every light, not only on the exterior of your home, but also that might be right by the exterior of your home, like a bathroom or kitchen light or something. But you want to make sure that your stuff's in order. So make sure that you've got your bond, the right bond. Is it a repair only, or excuse me, retreat only bond, or does it also offer repair coverage? Talk to your termite company about that and make, look at the bond. What does it provide? And read it. And if you have questions, now's the time to get those answered.
Yeah, and I know you have some information on some cases you've worked involving termite bonds, and people can read about that also at tobiascomerlaw.com. Well, termites, they always get me going. So I am glad you brought that up because I don't want anyone to have to deal with that. And you're right, you need to make sure you take care of it before the swarm comes, because after is when you're going to be in a world of trouble.
That's right.
Brian, you've brought a lot of great information today. Really appreciate you coming in again, making sure we're all safe for Boating Safety Week. So again, if people want to see these videos, some great production I'm hearing that you've put on this video with Aaliyah Marine Patrol. You'll be rolling those out during National Boating Safety Week.
That's right, and they can find us at tobiascomerlaw.com.
All right, and make sure, he won't say it, I'll say it for him, make sure you're voting for Brian and the entire Tobias and Comer crew in the Nappies at votenappies.com. One more time, our podcast right here, Law 251, finalist for Best Local Podcast. Brian also up for Best Personal Injury Attorney and Best Mobilian. How about that? And also Tobias and Comer Law up for Best Personal Injury Firm and Best Place to Work. Brian, really appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day, man.
All right. Thanks, Dalton. Appreciate you having me.
All right. There's Brian Comer, Tobias and Comer Law, and Law 251. And that does it for this morning's edition of Mobile Mornings. Coming up next, the Jeff Poor Show right here on FM Talk 106.5.